Okay, so I'm going to be starting with the asparagus salad. Sorry, I have my polenta working over here and it needs a little bit more liquid, so I'm just going ahead and adding some water to that. Real quick. All right, so I'm just grabbing my asparagus. All right, I have my pan warming up here for my fried egg. I have my roasted asparagus ready in my vinaigrette. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these how I want them presented. I'm going to build up some height here, so I'm actually going to stack them like a little pyramid. All right. Sorry, 1 second. Not that I don't want to see Beth's beautiful face. I don't want you to be the primary focus.
I got it.
Okay. There we go. I have no more butane. It's empty. Crap. I'm gonna fry my egg where you can't see it. Oh, I don't have any more butane. It's empty. Well, crap. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna have to do this off camera. All right. Well, I'm sorry, you guys. I have no way. The camera won't reach that far. I don't know. My kitchen's all the way over there, and this cord isn't very long.
It's okay. I think we all know how to fry an egg, so.
Well, I hope so. Y'all went through the launch. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna fry up this egg. So I'm just heating up that burner. I have the recording paused right now because no one wants to. I'll just put the focus here right now. The recording's paused, just so you know. And then I'll resume it whenever I come back and play it.
Is it? It still says recording.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding. We'll edit this part out. So sorry for those that didn't get to see this part. I have to do everything off camera. But I went ahead and did an over easy egg here. All right, no color. It's nice, over easy, right? So I'm gonna gently wiggle it on my spatula here. I'm gonna let any excess butter drip off just for a second because I don't want that to show up here on my plate. Okay, and then we're just going to lay that right on top. Just like that. All right. And then if you have any extra Parmesan left over, I have some extra grated. And I'm just gonna top just a little bit right on top of my egg there. All right. So there you have it. All right, nice, simple. This would be served more as like an appetizer. Okay. All right, I'm gonna set this guy aside. I'm totally gonna eat this later. just so you know. And I forgot to, oh, nope, I did record it. Awesome. All right. So I'm just going ahead and stirring up my polenta here. I just tasted the polenta, so it's a slight crunch to it. If you need to, don't hesitate to add more liquid to it. I know mine, as it continues to cook, it's going to continue to absorb that liquid. So but if yours to be rather on that thick side, don't hesitate to add more liquid, whether it's chicken stock or water. All right, and remember to salt it. Add salt in the beginning, okay? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to prepare my duck. All right. So here I have my duck. All right, I'm going to lay this here on my cutting board. And what I'm going to do is make some cross hatches here. So I'm going to cut through the fat, but I'm not going to, or at least try not to, cut through the meat itself, okay? Remember that the fat is rather on that thick side. So I'm just going to make a small incision. You guys can see that it's barely cutting through that fat. Okay.
Did it say to do that on our recipe, Chef?
I don't think so. Oh, it does. It does say to score it. Yes, it does. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, just going all the way down. All right, so you can see that. Okay. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to go the opposite direction now. You don't necessarily have to turn it if you don't need to, but for me it's a little bit easier because I'm right-handed.
You say duck doesn't have salmonella, Chef?
That is correct, yes. So this you're actually going to serve medium rare. All right. All right, so you guys can see that. Okay. So now we're going to season this, salt and pepper. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to get my pan heated up. And when I put this down, I'm actually going to put it skin side down. And I'm going to, once it's heated, I'm going to turn down my heat to a very, very low heat. All right. What we're going to do is, because this duck skin is so fatty, we're going to render down that fat. And it's going to take a good 10 to 15 minutes to render it down. What we're aiming for here, by the time that it's done, you're going to have a very thin, crispy skin. All right. So you really need to allow it that time to render down. Don't turn it up on high heat and get instant color. You get that instant color, you're going to have very chewy, fatty skin. All right. Make sure you allow it time to render down. Okay. So I'm going to season the backside.
So you put it in hot or a high heat pan and then turn it down, Chef? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to be putting it in the pan like this. I'm going to go ahead and get my pan started. All right, I got my pan heating up here. I have it heating up all the way on high. So remember, when you're working with hot fat, whether it's hot butter or hot oil, that when you lay your protein down, you're gonna lay it down away from you, okay? So if this were the pan here, I'm gonna take my tongs and I'm going to lay it away from me, okay? Don't drop it and then drop it towards you, because any oil is gonna splash towards your face, right? Or your clothes or your body or skin. All right, so when you lay it down, lay it away from you. So I'm gonna try to get this pan heated up and then bring it over here just so I can show you how I lay it down, and then I'm gonna have to move it back over, okay? Okay, pan is nice and hot. So I'm gonna take my duck and lay it down just like that. All right, I'm gonna go put it back on the heat. All right, so my duck is working. I have it turned down on a low heat. I have my polenta started here. All right, so what I did with this polenta is I brought my stock and my milk to a rapid boil, and then while whisking, I slowly started to pour in that polenta. All right, so you should end up with this nice creamy consistency. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish it. So I'm going to add in my Parmesan and some butter as well. Okay. So I'll add in my butter, Parmesan, and then more salt and pepper. All right, so it should be nice thick consistency, very creamy. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste. I'm gonna add a little bit more butter and a little bit more cheese to it. And probably a little bit more salt too. And remember that salt brings out all those flavors. Give it another taste. It's perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set it on the heat, on a low heat until my duck is ready. Okay. All right, so my duck here is about halfway. I just wanted to show you guys where it's at. So if I lift it up, do you see that nice, beautiful golden brown that's happening? I still have quite a bit of fat to render down. If you see how thick it is, it's still, I mean, this is only about halfway, but that's what you're looking for, is for that nice golden crisp to continue, okay? So I'm just gonna put this back on the heat. I just wanted to show you guys what was happening over here. So for my stove, it's numbered from 1 to 10, you know, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. I have mine set at about a 2.5, if that helps you gauge how low of a heat I actually have my duck going, okay? Okay, so this is about the total time, so I want to show you guys where it's at now. And I'm going to flip it over, all right? So it is nice and rendered down. You can tell that it's shrunken in size, but it's also very crispy, all right? And then you can see the thinness now of that, and it's just crispy, all right? That's what you should be able to feel. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to cook it the rest of the way through. We're going to go We're about a medium rare. And this part really doesn't take that long, or as long as that first part. Okay, so I went ahead, preheated the oven. It's at 425. Once I flipped over my duck, I just put it in the oven. And then now I'm going to cook it until it is a medium rare. So now that it's in the oven, I'm going to start my cream spinach. All right, I have my spinach already blanched here. A lot of that moisture has been squeezed out. I squeezed it out about 3 times to get as much of that excess liquid out as possible. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to add butter into my pan. I'm gonna lightly saute those garlic and shallots. Then I'm going to add in my cream, and then I'm gonna reduce that down. All right, so the very last thing that I'm going to add in here is actually the spinach. All right, and all I really wanna do is just warm up the spinach. It's already been cooked, and I don't wanna cook it any further. The more you cook it, the more likely you are to overcook it, but it'll also turn brown, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get that started. All right, my duck is out of the oven. I went ahead and add shallots to the remainder of the fat that's in there. Now I'm going to deglaze it with wine, and now I'm going to reduce this by half. Okay. Right. So while my sauce is reducing, I have my polenta here. I'll use this here. I have my cream spinach. Okay, I'm going to grab a plate. So I can plate that. So I just kept my polenta on warm while my duck was working. Here you see it's still nice and hot. And I'm letting my duck rest. I am going to end up cutting it, but I do want to allow it to rest. So you can see some of those juices that are going to run. All right, this is why you want to allow it to rest, so those juices can come back together. All right, I think I probably went to about a medium here, but it should be good. So I'm going to allow this to continue to rest. I'm going to set up a plate here. Sauce is looking good. It's smelling good. Okay.
Oh, that is so yummy. My grandma's never had duck or polenta.
You've never had them?
No, my grandma hasn't. Or literally like anything I make.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good that you finally, or she finally gets to try out this stuff and you get to show her.
No, it's been coming out good too. Besides the sauce.
Green spinach. Okay. I'm just gonna let that sit. Move this stuff aside. All right, sauce is almost there. Just about reduced. So I'm gonna move this stuff for right now. I'm gonna move my plate aside. I'm gonna grab a cutting board. So I have my plate up there. getting close. Okay. All right, so it's reduced. I'm now going to add in that demi, and I'm going to melt that down. And then I'll be finishing it with that butter off of the heat. All right, demi is melting. It takes a couple seconds to melt down, and then make sure it just comes to a boil. How much butter do we need? 1 tablespoon. You want to make sure that you're using cold butter. So I have grabbed some butter from my fridge. All right, you don't want room temp butter when you're doing this part. All right, I just need 1 tablespoon. So I'm gonna leave that right there for a second. All right. So it's reduced. I added in that demi, and now I'm adding in that cold butter. Like I said, it was straight from that fridge. And then I'm just going to swirl it until that butter is completely melted. And this is what's gonna like bring the sauce together also. It's gonna add some richness. It's gonna thicken it up a little bit. If you need to, don't be afraid to add a little bit more butter to it. All right, butter just has like a tiny little speck. And I'm gonna add just a little bit more butter to it. Oh, it smells so good too. That port wine has such like an earthiness to it.
Steph, did the recipe say only 1 tablespoon of butter?
It did.
Oh,
I'm adding in another one.
okay. Sometimes I get scared to add too much. That's why. So I was just checking.
Remember that recipes are more like guidelines, right? You know, when we're dealing with baking, baking has to be exact. There is no room for, oh, I'm just gonna add a little bit more sugar. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt, right? That's where you go wrong. Cooking is completely different. I think of recipes as more like guidelines, so don't be afraid to make it more your own.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna grab a spoon. All right, and I'm just checking that consistency. We have a nice, good run there. Okay, and I'm gonna test for flavor. It's good. It needs a little salt. So, okay, so I'm just gonna swirl in that salt. This one's gonna be used for plating. I'll set this butter aside. All right. So my duck has been resting. It's still pretty hot. You can see all those juices that ran. Okay, I'm gonna set my plate aside. So So now we're going to cut. So when you guys cut, I want to see some nice angled slices. All right, so I'm going to start on that tail end, and I have my knife held here at an angle. I don't want to cut it straight up and down. I'm going to end up with very short pieces. All right, so to kind of show you, I'm going to work here off of that angle towards that tail end. All right. Oh, it looks good. And I want nice thin slices. So I definitely have about a medium here. But it still looks beautiful. And I'll show you guys here in a second more of what it looks like as soon as I finish cutting. Ooh, it's hot. It's hot. It's been resting and it's still steaming hot. All right. So you guys can kind of see here. All right. It appears more pink on camera, but it's actually not that pink. I don't know why. I'm gonna plate it and see if it looks like. It's actually not that pink. It is pink, but it's not that pink like it appears on camera.
You want pink though, like a medium.
It looks pretty pink on the camera.
So you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so I want it to be nice and fanned out. And I have it resting here right against that spinach. You could still see my little swoop there. And I'm just gonna clean up those juices. Now I'm going to take my sauce. And I go right across that duck there. All right. Let's see if I can bring this around here. So if you do end up with some of that juice, let's go ahead and clean that up. All right. There we are.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it appears very pink on camera. It's actually a nice medium. There we are.
Mom,